All right, so today we're just like combining all the things that we've learned about graphing rational functions and like actually graphing them. So remember, things that we've learned about graphing rational functions. So this includes it includes basically 5 things. To find x-intercepts, you set y equal to 0 and solve. Right? To find y-intercepts, you set x equal to 0 and solve. To find vertical asymptotes, you factor the top and bottom of the rational function, and if there's not any point where the denominator is 0 and the numerator is not 0, that corresponds to a vertical asymptote. So you factor the top and bottom. Then find points where the bottom is 0 and the top is not 0. That's to find vertical asymptotes. To find holes, we find points where both the top and the bottom are 0. Equals 0 and the top equals 0. And then finally, what we did on Thursday was to find horizontal asymptotes. And for this, you just look at the order of the top and the order of the bottom, right? So if the order of the bottom is greater than the order of the top, then it's going to be y equals 0, because the bottom's growing at a faster rate. If the order of the bottom and top are the same, the order of the bottom equals the order of the top, then it's going to be the fraction of leading coefficients. Okay, so those are the 5 things that they're combining on tonight's homework. So let me just work through a couple problems with you so you can just see how it works. So here's a typical question. Right here. Okay, so they just want you to do each of the 5 things.
Sorry about that.
So they just want you to do each of these 5 things: vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, x-intercept, y-intercept, and hole. So let me just show you how it works on Delta Math. To find vertical asymptotes, remember you factor the top and bottom. So if I were to do that here, I'm going to do it over here, because I think when I scroll down, my writing's going to stay right where it is. I'm gonna do it over here. So if I factor that, I get 5 times x minus 4. And on the bottom, I get x minus 4x plus 4. So if you observe here, there's not a matching factor for that, but there is a matching factor for that, right? So this corresponds to a vertical asymptote. And this corresponds to a hole. So the way that you're going to fill that in is, for vertical asymptote, you're just going to click on vertical asymptote, and then you're just going to move it over to where it goes. In this case, the vertical asymptote occurs at -4, right? So you're just going to use your mouse to move that dotted line over to -4. So, like that. Okay? That takes care of the vertical asymptote. To take care of the hole, remember you need an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. How do you find the y-coordinate of the hole? The x-coordinate is 4. How do you find the y-coordinate? Yeah, you plug it in after you cancel these out. So if you substitute in 4 now, so at x equals 4, the y-coordinate would equal 5/8. So that's the point that you're going to plug in as your hole. So you're going to go to hole, click on it, and you're just going to drag this little hole to the point 4 and then 5/8. So if I go to 4, 5/8 is a little less than 1. So like something like that. There's where the hole goes. Does that make sense? For horizontal asymptotes, you just look at the order of the top and the bottom. The bottom's bigger. What does that mean? Yeah, so y equals 0 is a horizontal asymptote, right? So I'm going to click on horizontal asymptote and drag that dotted line down to the or the x-axis, because that's y equals 0. You have to do it all, yeah, in one problem. Then x and y intercepts. To find the x-intercept, you set y equal to 0. So you set this whole thing equal to 0. 0 equals 5x minus 20 over x squared minus 16. A fraction is 0 whenever the top is 0 and the bottom is not 0, right? But if you set the top equal to 0, you get x equals 4. But 4 doesn't give you 0. 4 gives you 0 over 0, right? 4 gives you 0 over 0. So what that means is that there's actually no x-intercepts here, which kind of makes sense. If there's an asymptote and it's the x-axis, then the graph is never going to cross the x-axis. Does that make sense? So you just don't click on that. You just leave it unclicked. Okay? So there's no x-intercepts. To find the y-intercept, you set x equal to 0. The y-intercept, if you set y or x equal to 0, you get 0 minus 20 over 0 minus 16. So you get 20 over 16, which is 5/4. So then you just click on y-intercept, and then you just drag this point down to 5/4, which is 1 1/4, like kind of about like there. And that's it. I've done all 5 things. I didn't click on x-intercept because there aren't any, right? If there happened to not be a horizontal asymptote, just don't click on that. Now you just click on plot rational function. It draws the graph for you, like you don't have to actually draw it, and then just submit your answer. Okay, this is messing up mine. There, and that's it. I did all 5 things. Does that make sense? So that's what they want you to do in this section of the Delta Math. You got to do 3 of those, and then there's another section of the problem that's kind of the same thing, except you don't have to actually graph it, but you still have to do the same 5 things. Horizontal asymptote, vertical asymptote, x-intercept, y-intercept, and hole. So in this case, you just type in the correct answer instead of actually moving the stuff and graphing it. Does everybody understand? So you got to know how to do those 5 things, though. And sometimes there won't be a hole. Sometimes there won't be a vertical asymptote. Sometimes there won't be a horizontal asymptote. just leave that blank. Like, in this case, you just click on no horizontal asymptote or whatever, but on the other part, don't click on it at all, because it'll put the point there, and if you don't move it, it's just gonna assume that that's where it is, or whatever, you know? Everybody understand? Okay. That's it. I'll give you time to work on this, and you should definitely be able to finish it.
Can I use the bathroom?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, can I also use the bathroom? Yeah.
You gotta wait till she gets back. Yeah, sorry, that's the rule.
No, but-